Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ryan Awesome, and welcome to the Ryan Awesome Show. Now, before we get into the show, first off, man, if you haven't done this already, man, what are you waiting for, man? Hit the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. And right next to that subscribe button, there's a bell. Make sure you click on that bell so you're the first ones to know when my next video will come out because I'm here each and every single week. So make sure you hit the thumbs up if you haven't already. Hit the thumbs up. And if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. And then next to that subscribe button, there's a bell. You click on that bell. And when you click on that bell, you'll be the first ones to know when my next video is uploaded. And one last thing, don't forget to be awesome. So yeah, don't forget to be awesome. And yeah, man, sit back, chillax, grab something to eat, grab something to drink because you're watching the Ryan Awesome Show. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ryan Awesome Show. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ryan Awesome, and welcome to the Ryan Awesome Show. Now, today on the Ryan Awesome Show, we'll be talking about AEW Dynamite Fyter Fest Night 2, man, for July 21st, 2021. Now, man, this show, man, this is a great show, man. Really great show. Awesome main event. Texas DeathMatch. Jon Moxley versus Lance Archer for the IWGP United States Championship. That match was freaking crazy, bro. The spots in that match was crazy. That chair spot that Moxley took, the choke slam that he took through that table, man, was freaking brutal, man. With the barbed wire and all that stuff, man. Oh, this was a fun show. I really enjoyed this show. Now, last night on NXT, you know, like tonight's show, it got the bad taste out of my mouth from NXT from last night. And they like with AEW, man, they really give you a reason. They giving the viewers like a reason why you should come back and watch the show next week. And so next week, man, it's Fight for the Fallen, and they absolutely stacked up that show, man. Absolutely stacked up that show. And also, man, tonight it was actually a newsworthy show too, because you heard reports saying that Daniel Bryan signed with AEW, and you have reports saying that CM Punk was in talks of coming back in the ring. So CM Punk, he could be coming to AEW because he's not gonna go anywhere else but AEW. So I'm gonna talk about that towards the end of the show or at the end of the show. But yeah, man, that was with AEW Dynamite, man. And we also had some debuts tonight too, with Nick Gage coming in. And he's going to be fighting Chris Jericho next week in a no disqualification match. And we had Chavo Guerrero. He came out, made his debut in AEW Dynamite as Andrade El Idolo's consultant or his executive consultant. So yeah, those are the debuts that we saw tonight, man. And so yeah, man, that was it with Dynamite, man. It was a really really fun show, man. Fun show. And it felt like it was a loaded show too, man. It felt like a pay-per-view show. That's what it felt like. But yeah, man. So yeah, that was it with Dynamite, man. And just like what I say in the intro all the time, man, if you haven't done this already, hit the thumbs up, man. What are you waiting for? Hit the thumbs up. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. And right next to that subscribe button, there's a bell. Click on that bell so you'll be the first ones to know when my next video is uploaded because I'm here each and every single week, man. So yeah, so tonight we were live in Dallas, Texas for AEW Dynamite. And so our first match of the night was the first Labour of Jericho. So we had the five labors of Jericho. So this is the first Labour of Jericho. So it was Chris Jericho, Le Champion, Chris Jericho versus the chairman, Shawn Spears, representing the Pinnacle, with Tully Blanchard in his corner and MJF on commentary. So I love MJF on commentary, man. The back and forth that he had with Tony Schiavone and all that stuff. It was funny the way they were arguing with each other. And so yeah, we had first off, the stipulation of this match was that Jericho he cannot use a chair in this match, but Shawn Spears he can use the chair in the match. So first off, Spears he tried to go for the chair, and Jericho stopped Spears from using the chair. And so Jericho he grabbed the chair instead. He was about to hit Shawn Spears with the chair, but the referee had reminded Jericho that, hey, remember you can't use the chair. Remember you can't use the chair. And so Jericho he ended up fighting Spears outside of the ring. He had threw him into a barricade. And so, Jericho he took control of that match, the early parts of the match, and then Spears he had threw a chair in Jericho's face in midair. And so we had a top rope overhead superplex. A top rope overhead superplex, I guess, because they were at the top rope to Jericho and he kicked out. And so Spears he had targeted Jericho's bad arm by hitting Jericho with the chair. And so Jericho started fighting back. He had a top rope Frankensteiner to Spears, which is nice. And we had a super kick. We had a super kick to Jericho. He kicks out. And we had chops to Spears. We had a sit out spinebuster to Jericho. He kicked out. And then Spears he brought in another chair. And so he started to hit Jericho with the chair. And so Jericho he had locked in the walls of Jericho to Spears, and then Tully Blanchard he had got on the apron to try to distract the referee. And so Spears at that point, the referee was distracted, and so Spears started tapping out, but the referee doesn't see it, of course. And so Sammy Guevara he came out. So Sammy Guevara he came out and he yanked Tully Blanchard off the ring apron. And so they were about to fight, but Sammy Guevara he did not touch. He didn't lay his hands on Blanchard. And so yeah, they went to the back. And so Jericho, so Spears he had hit Jericho with the chair, and then he followed it up with a C4. So Shawn Spears hit his finishing move to Jericho to C4, and Jericho kicked out of the C4. And so Jericho he threw Spears into a chair that was in the corner. So Spears went face first into the chair in the corner. And so to end the match, we have Jericho. He had his finishing move, the Judas effect, to Shawn Spears to win the match. So Chris Jericho wins the match. And so right after the match, we had MJF. He had grabbed the microphone and he told Jericho, I knew one of your little inner circle mates were going to get involved in this match. So the next time it happens, the next time any member of the inner circle gets involved in the labors of Jericho, the match is off. The match that you have with me will be off if any member of the inner circle gets involved in this 5 labors of Jericho. And so MJF he said that now that you've beaten the first labor of Jericho, the second labor of Jericho will be a no disqualification match, and your opponent is Nick Gage. So deathmatch wrestler Nick Gage, who was on an episode of the Dark Side of the Ring. And so Nick Gage. So it's gonna be Chris Jericho versus Nick Gage in a no disqualification match. And so yeah, man, that was it with that, man. The match was good, man. Good match to start off the show. And of course Jericho was gonna win. There was no way Jericho was gonna lose, because the ending is to him to get to MJF. He got to beat everybody else to get to MJF. So of course Jericho won the match, and Jericho is not gonna lose the match until he gets to MJF, and then Jericho will lose to MJF. And so yeah, and with Nick Gage, man, I did not expect to see Nick Gage. I really didn't. But yeah, he's here, man. He's here. He like Nick Gage, like the type of style that he wrestles, man. He shouldn't be on TNT. Like he shouldn't. But he's here, man. He's here in TNT. But yeah, at first I thought that Jericho was gonna have to go through members of the inner circle, not the inner circle, members of the Pinnacle to get to MJF. But they did it differently, man. They did it differently. So yeah, man, that was it with that. So Nick Gage versus Jericho next week. And so yeah, that was it with that. And so right after that, we had a vignette from Miro, the TNT champion, God's favorite champion. Miro, he spoke. And so he talked about Dynamite. Well, he talked about the past TNT champions. And he talked about the homecoming show for AEW Dynamite that's coming up soon at Daly's Place. And so Miro, he said that he will fight on homecoming. He will fight on that homecoming show. And he asked, who's going to step up to me? Who's going to step up and fight me for my championship? And so that was it with that. So Miro, every single week, man, continuing to look dominant, man. And so, yeah, that was it with that. And so right after that, we had a match, and it was Doc Gallows, who is one half of the Impact World Champions, Impact World Tag Team Champions, new Impact World Tag Team Champions, with Karl Anderson, who is the other half of the Impact Tag Team Champions, versus the Elite Hunter, Frankie Kazarian. So yeah, this match wasn't really much important. It wasn't important. What happened after the match was important. So yeah, so we had Kazarian. He went right after Gallows, and so we had a diving drop kick to Gallows, and he was still standing up after that. We had a big boot to Kazarian, and then Anderson he started to attack Kazarian outside the ring behind the referee's back, so the referee didn't see it. And so Gallows he took control of the match during a commercial break, picture in picture, of course. And so we had a springboard spinning leg drop to Gallows, which was nice. And so Gallows kicked out. And we had a Frankie chant from the crowd, a roundhouse kick to Kazarian, a choke bomb to Kazarian to win the match. So Gallows hit his finishing move, that choke bomb or the Gallows pole, to Kazarian to win the match. So Doc Gallows wins the match. And so right after the match, we had the Good Brothers. They attacked Kazarian, and they hit the Magic Killer on Kazarian. And so Omega and Callis came out with a microphone. And so Callis said that, this is exactly what happens when you mess with the Elite. And so Omega, he said that the Elite Hunter has now become the Elite. And he tried to think about something to say. And so Callis had whispered in Omega's ear. And so Omega had said the Elite Hunter has now become the Elite Hunted. And so that was it. And so right after that, Hangman Adam Page, he came out. Crowd going crazy again. He came out with his drink in his hand. And so he got in the ring. And so Callis had asked Page, like, are you stupid or are you just plain old drunk? Because look how many, you are outnumbered, dude. So I don't know if you're stupid or you just drunk. And so Page, he attacked the Elite. And so the Dark Order came out to save Page to even up the odds. And so members of the Dark Order, they started hitting Anderson with tag team finishing moves. And so we had a buckshot lariat to Anderson, and that was it, man. That was it with that. So they building up their 5-on-5 elimination tag team match for next week. And I still love the fact that Omega and Hangman Adam Page did not touch yet, man. They did not touch yet, but they will be touching each other, or maybe not. Well, if it's a 5-on-5 elimination match, then yeah, they will have to touch each other. But as the week's been going on, I'm glad that they did not touch each other because, they have a big match and you don't want to ruin the match by having them touch each other or fight each other. And so that was it with that. So, yeah, right after that, we had Team Taz. So Team Taz, they spoke. That's Taz, Starkman, Ricky Starks, Will Powerhouse Hobbs, and Hook. So they spoke. So Ricky Starks, he had spoke. He talked about his championship win, his FTW championship victory. And he said that next week there will be a championship celebration. And so Brian Cage, he was backstage. He spoke. He was being interviewed by, I think, Dasha. And so Cage, he was by himself. He said that he loves celebrations. And, he was being sarcastic, saying that, he's going to ruin the celebration for Ricky Starks because Team Taz had cost him. They screwed him over last week, by kicking him out and costing him the championship. Well, costing him the championship and then kicking him out. So, yeah, that was it with that. So, Cage is out for revenge. And so, yeah, that was it with that. And so, right after that, we had a match. And it was Wheeler, Yuta, with Orange Cassidy in his corner versus Darby Allin with Sting in his corner. So, yeah, so Darby Allin, he came out first. Or he came out second. So, Darby, his ribs was all taped up from that coffin match from last week with Ethan Page. And so yeah, so both of these guys, they are trading roll-ups. And so Yuta, he started going after the ribs, which is smart, man. You have a tape rib, that's a bullseye, so go after the ribs. And so Yuta, he had an octopus stretch, or he locked in the octopus stretch to Darby. And so Darby ended up fighting out of it. And then we had a German suplex to Darby Allin, he kicked out. And we had a superplex to Yuta. I don't know if that was a smart move from Darby Allin, but I love the superplex, but I don't think that was a smart move by Darby Allin. He has tape ribs, and you're going for a dangerous move like the superplex. And so Sting and Orange Cassidy, they were outside the ring and they had a stare down. And so this is the best spot in the match, man. both of these guys, they were doing the most devastating kicks to each other, the lazy kicks and all that stuff. So yeah, Darby Allin, he was distracted by all that, and so Darby was like, dude, what is going on out here? What are y'all two doing? And so yeah, he got rolled up by Yuta and he kicked out. And so we had a stunner to Yuta, and then in the match we had a coffin drop to Yuta to win the match. So Darby Allin wins the match. And so right after the match we had the Blade. He blindsided Orange Cassidy with the brass knuckles. The brass knucks. So Blade, he used the brass knucks to knock out Cassidy. And that was it. So that was a setup for that match later on tonight. And so yeah, with this match, man, it was a really competitive match, man. Really great back and forth with Yuta and Darby Allin. And you know, the Sting and the Orange Cassidy spot was the funniest part in this match. Like seeing Sting do the most devastating kicks, I think it was even more funnier seeing him do that. Him of all people doing the most devastating kicks. I thought that was really funny. But yeah, man, that was it with that. And so right after that, we had the AEW Women's Championship match, or the AEW Women's World Championship match. And so it was Nyla Rose with Vickie Guerrero in her corner versus Dr. Britt Baker, D.M.D, with Rebel in her corner. So Dr. Britt Baker is the champion, the AEW Women's World Champion. And so yeah, so the crowd, they popped for Dr. Britt Baker. And so Britt, she tried to use their speed against Rose. And so Rose caught her with a senton bomb, a running senton bomb. And so Rose, she tried to go for a draping knee drop, or a draping knee, draping knee drop. And so Rebel had pulled Baker out of the way. And so yeah, we had a Uranaki to Baker, a follow-away slam to Baker, sling blade to Rose, backslide to Rose. So yeah, this is a botch in this match. We did have not some botches. We had like one botch in this match. So yeah, so Baker, she went for the backslide on Rose. And so the referee was counting. The referee actually counted to 3. He actually counted to 3. And so the crowd thought the match was over. And so the referee said it was 2. So the match is still going on. So the crowd started booing the referee, you know, chanting that you effed up, and all that stuff. And so, like, dude, it was a 3. The referee hand hit the mat 3 times. So that was a 3. That should have been it. But the referee continued the match. And so Rebel, she had handed Britt Baker the surgical glove that she used for the lockjaw. And so we had Nyla Rose, she hit the Death Valley driver to Baker. And then Nyla Rose hit the diving draping knee drop to Baker, and she kicked out of that move. And so we had super kicks to Rose, and we had a choke slam to Baker, and she kicked out. And so we had 2 curb stomps. We had 2 curb stomps to Nyla Rose, and Nyla Rose kicked out. And so I was like, man, wherever Seth Rollins is, he is not happy about that. He's not. That's his finishing move, the curb stomp. And you have Nyla Rose kicking out of 2 curb stomps. Not 1, but 2 curb stomps. And so, yeah, we had a forearm strike to Baker that knocked her out. That not knocked her out, but knocked her to the floor. And so so Rebel distracted the referee at that point. And so Baker, she grabbed the AEW Women's Championship, and she tried to pull off a Eddie Guerrero by pretending that Nyla Rose hit her with the championship. And so the referee was distracted. And so Nyla Rose had the championship. And so she saw what was coming. So she threw the championship back to Britt Baker. And so the referee turned around and saw Britt Baker with the championship. And the referee was about to disqualify Britt Baker. And so Britt Baker, she was like, I didn't do this. I didn't hit her with the championship. And so, yeah, so Britt Baker, she had the championship in her hand. At that point, I was like, you know, you could take it. You have a champion's advantage. I would have took it to disqualification. I would have took the disqualification as just me. But yeah, but she dropped the championship. She dropped the championship, and she got caught with a beast bomb. And so Baker had kicked out, and I was like, thank God, man, she kicked out. And so when she hit that beast bomb, I thought that was it. I was like, please do not take that championship off of Baker. Do not. And so yeah, so Baker kicked out, and so we had Baker. She locked in the finishing move, the lockjaw, to Rose to win the match. So Nyla Rose taps out. So therefore, Britt Baker, Dr. Britt Baker wins the match, and is still the AEW Women's World Champion. So yeah, but yeah, going into this match, man, I did not care about this match. I didn't. But it was a good match. It was a really good match. Not the best match. It was decent. It was good. But yeah, the crowd reaction was good too, man. I love the crowd reaction in this match. Like there were parts in the match, just like what I mentioned earlier about the Beast Bomb. I thought that was it. There were points of this match that I thought that Nyla Rose was gonna win, but she didn't win. And yeah, man, and that was it, man. That was it. So yeah, so I'm actually glad that the feud is over and that the match is over and no more championship opportunities for Nyla Rose because she lost. So I'm glad that's over. I'm glad that's over with, man. And so yeah, so that was it with that. And so right after that, we had the press conference. So we had the press conference with FTR representing the Pinnacle, Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler with Tully Blanchard standing next to them, and we had Proud and Powerful representing the Inner Circle. So that's Santana and Ortiz. And so yeah, so they promoting their match, their tag team match that they have next week at Fight for the Fallen next week in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so FTR said that they respect Santana and Ortiz as professional wrestlers, but as human beings, they don't respect them at all. And so Santana and Ortiz, they said that while you guys were somewhere else playing patty cake, we were dominating the tag team division. And so yeah, WWE they're playing patty cake in WWE, patty cake in WWE. So we took over the tag team division while you guys are playing patty cake somewhere else. And so Santana he had pictures in his pocket, so he pulled the pictures out of his pockets. He had like a picture of his family, and then he had a picture of his apartment or his mom's apartment, and explaining every picture. And he had a newspaper of his mom fighting against the city, so that the rest of his family, can have a place to live. And so yeah, that was it with that. So Harwood he had said that Harwood said that there's only three things that he care about in this world, and that's God, my family, and professional wrestling. And so Harwood he has said that next week in Charlotte, North Carolina, FTR will show up and beat Santana and Ortiz's asses. And so that's what FTR had to say about that. So FTR and Santana and Ortiz they got in each other's faces, and so the security guards had to break up the fight. They didn't fight. They didn't put their hands on each other, but they got in each other's faces, getting ready to fight. So the security guard were there. The security guards were there to break it up. And so yeah, man, with this man, I cannot wait, man. I cannot wait for this tag team match, man. FTR is probably my favorite tag team in AEW. They're probably my number one favorite tag team in AEW. And Santana and Ortiz, they're probably my number two favorite tag team. But yeah, man, this should be a really great match, man. Two of the best tag teams in AEW right now, man. And I said this weeks and weeks and weeks ago, man. I would have had this as a tag team championship title feud. Had FTR hold on to those titles longer. They should have held on to those titles longer when they were the AEW champions, AEW tag team champions. They should have held on to those titles longer, and then held it up to this point, and then had them drop it to Santana and Ortiz. If they were still champions, they would have dropped it next week at Fight for the Fallen, or probably at another pay-per-view at All Out or something. But yeah, man. But yeah, so actually FTR they have home field advantage. They actually have home field advantage because they're in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's FTR's hometown. So FTR they have some home field advantage. Now, who will win next week? I might have to go with FTR because they are in their hometown and they usually give the win to their people that's in the hometown. So it might be FTR. And so yeah, man. But yeah, that's gonna be a great match, a really great match, man. That's gonna be. And so yeah, that was it with that. And so yeah, so right after that we had Tony Schiavone. He was in the ring. He interviews Andrade El Idolo. And so Andrade he came out in a gray suit and with a black shirt with his assistant. And so yeah, they got in the ring, and then as always, the person takes the microphone away from Tony Schiavone. So Andrade he took the microphone away from Schiavone. And so Andrade he said that he has a surprise for everyone. And so his surprise was an executive consultant. So that was his surprise to all along. So the executive consultant for Andrade El Idolo is none other than Chavo Guerrero. So yeah, that's a name I haven't heard about in a long time. Chavo Guerrero Jr. So Chavo Guerrero Jr. is All Elite Wrestling. And so he came out, he grabbed the microphone. Chavo, he had said it is a great time to be a wrestling fan. He hyped up Andrade El Idolo. And so we had the Death Triangle had interrupted Andrade El Idolo because, Andrade, he had mentioned the Death Triangle last week, saying that he was looking for them. So we had the whole gang. We had Pac, Pentagon, and Ray Phoenix, a returning Ray Phoenix. So Ray Phoenix is back, and you had Alex Abrahantes. And so so Pac, he says that, Andrade, I heard what you said last week. I heard you mention our name that last week. And so Pac, he says that the Death Triangle hides from no one. And so Andrade, he said that Phoenix and Pentagon are great, but with me, you could be greater. And so Chavo, he translated for Andrade El Idolo, basically saying that they'll hold all the gold. And so Andrade, he had asked Phoenix, like, why? He asked, like, why do you guys work for Pac? And so Andrade, he has said that, now you guys are gonna be working for me. You guys are gonna be working for me instead of Pac. And so Pac has said that Pentagon and Ray Phoenix don't work for him. They don't work for me. They don't work for me. And so Pac, he has said that the Death Triangle is a family, a brotherhood. And so Pentagon and Ray Phoenix, they said that they are the real faces of the Lucha Libre. And so Pentagon, he said that, like, why would we join a group knowing that you're not even on our level? So the Death Triangle, they went up to the ring to try to fight Andrade El Idolo. And so the referee had to separate these two. And so, Andrade El Idolo and Chavo, they got out of the ring. And so that was it. That was it. So Chavo Guerrero is All Elite. He's All Elite Wrestling. And he's with Andrade El Idolo as his consultant. A hell of a lot better than Vickie Guerrero, man. I'll tell you that right now, man. Like, Vickie Guerrero, she was never meant to be with Andrade. It should have always been Zelina Vega, man. But she sold out and went to the WWE. She went back to the WWE. So this would have been Zelina Vega, man. This would have been Zelina Vega as his consultant instead of Chavo Guerrero and Vickie Guerrero. But yeah, man. But she chose to go after the money. She went to go after that blood money. But yeah, man. But Chavo Guerrero, man, better than Vickie Guerrero, man. Better than Vickie Guerrero. We don't have to hear her screechy voice. It felt like Vickie Guerrero was holding him back, though. That's what it felt like. It felt like Vickie was holding him back. Based on how she was being used with Nyla Rose and all that stuff. But yeah, with Chavo, man, I think he's gonna make him better, man. I think he's gonna make him better. So yeah, that was it with that. And so right after that, we had a backstage segment from Christian Cage, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus. They spoke, and they were upset about the Hardy family office taking out Marco Stunt, and they challenged them to a 6-man tag team match next week. To avenge Marco Stunt, and that was it. And so next week it will be Christian Cage and Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus versus the Hardy family office. I think the members are Private Party and Helico, if I'm not mistaken. And so right after that, we had Alex Marvez. He interviews The Factory as QT Marshall, Aaron Solo, and Nick Comoroto. Still no Anthony Ogogo. So wishing Anthony Ogogo a speedy recovery, man. And so man. So Marvez, he spoke. So Marvez, he had asked QT a question about Tony Schiavone, and QT pouring that protein shake over Schiavone's head. And Marvez, he had asked QT, like, hey man, shouldn't you owe Tony Schiavone an apology? And so QT, he said that next week there will be an apology. There will be an apology. And well, first off, he said that Tony Schiavone, he disrespected me. And so next week it will be an apology. It will be an apology next week for Tony Schiavone next week. And so that was it with that. And so I thought that segment was still funny, man, from last week when he poured the protein shake over Schiavone's head, and Tony Schiavone's reaction, dude. I loved it, dude. I loved it, dude. It was funny, man. It was absolutely funny. And so yeah, man, that was it with that. So yeah, right after that we had a match, and it was the Blade with the Bunny versus Orange Cassidy. So, so first off, Orange Cassidy, his music was playing and he didn't come out to his music, and so the Blade he thought that he won the match because Orange Cassidy didn't come out to his theme music, and so he ordered the referee to raise up his hand because Cassidy didn't come out, and so Cassidy he did ended up coming out, but the Blade didn't see him, and so yeah, he showed up from behind the Blade and started beating up the Blade. And so at one point we had the Blade, he had feigned an injury, a knee injury. So yeah, and he was wearing a knee brace, so it looked legit. It looked legit, so we thought that he was actually hurt, but he fooled everybody. And so we had a stunt dog millionaire to the Blade, and then the Blade he had a gut wrench powerbomb to Orange Cassidy on top of the turnbuckle while he was on top of the turnbuckle. So that was nasty. That was a nasty spot. It looked like it hurt it. And so yeah, so the Blade took control of the match during the commercial break, picture in picture, of course. And we had a spinning DDT to the Blade, and the Bunny she got on the apron, the ring apron, to try to distract the referee. And so Chris Statlander she had showed up and she evened up the odds. And so the Blade had pushed his Statlander into Cassidy's way. So Cassidy he went for a tope suicida, but the Blade had pushed Chris Statlander in the way. So Chris Statlander got hit by Cassidy with the tope. And so Cassidy he returned the favor, and so he pushed the Blade into the Bunny. So he pushed the Blade into his wife, the Bunny. And so Tony Schiavone on commentary he said that the Bunny dropped her ears. So I thought that was funny. She dropped her ears. And so we had a tombstone power driver to Cassidy, and we had a beach break to Blade. So Cassidy hit his finishing move, the beach break to Blade, and he kicked out. And so the Bunny tried to get involved again, but Statlander she just tried to stop her again, but she wasn't coming down the ring apron. And so she had the brass knuckles in her hand and she slid it in the ring. And so Blade had grabbed the knucks. He tried to hit Cassidy with it. And so Cassidy he kept dodging and weaving and stuff. And so Cassidy had caught the Blade with an orange punch to win the match. So Orange Cassidy wins the match. And so right after the match, we had Orange Cassidy. He grabbed the brass knuckles and he hit the orange punch. He used the brass knuckles to hit the orange punch on the Blade, so he got his revenge from earlier. So yeah, man, that was it with that. And yeah, man, good match. It was a good match. And so yeah, so the feud is hopefully over with these guys. So yeah, right after that, we had a backstage segment from Alex Marvez. He interviews Le Champion, Chris Jericho. And so he asked Jericho about the second Labour of Jericho in his match against Nick Gage next week. And so Jericho, he said that next week, next Wednesday, he's bringing back the most dangerous version of himself against Nick Gage because Nick Gage is a dangerous guy. And so Jericho, he turned around and he had the face paint on. He had the Painmaker face paint. So the Painmaker is back. So it's going to be the Painmaker Chris Jericho, no Le Champion. It's going to be the Painmaker Chris Jericho versus Nick Gage next week in a no disqualification match. So we have the Painmaker version of Chris Jericho versus Nick Gage. So yeah, that should be good, man. That should be good. So yeah, so before we get into the main event, let's talk about next week's show. So next week's show, of course, we have the Five Labors of Jericho, Chapter 2. So no rules match on a no disqualification match or a no holds bar match or whatever you want to call it. So it's going to be the Painmaker Chris Jericho versus Nick Gage next week. And also we have a tag team match, and it's going to be Santana and Ortiz of the Inner Circle with Conan in their corner versus FTR of the Pinnacle. That's Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler with Tully Blanchard in their corner. So that should be a great match, man. Really great match. And so right after this, we also have a 6-man tag team match, and it's going to be Christian Cage, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus versus the Hardy Family Office. And the members of the Hardy Family Office is Private Party and Angelico with Matt Hardy in their corner. So that's next week. And also the winner of the IWGP US Championship match, the main event Texas Death Match will be going up against Hikuleu next week. So Hikuleo, who's a part of the Bullet Club in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So the winner of that match, the winner, whoever won the Texas Death Match, will go up against Hikuleo next week for the IWGP US title. And also next week, Tony Khan, he has a major announcement for a new live event. So, and also we had the 10-man elimination tag. So it's going to be the Elite as Kenny by God Omega, who is the AEW World Champion, the Impact World Champion, AAA Mega Heavyweight Champion, and the Young Bucks, who are the AEW World Tag Team Champions, Matt and Nick Jackson, and the Good Brothers, who are the new Impact World Tag Team Champions, Doc Gallows and Karl Anderson, versus Hangman Adam Page, who is the #1 contender for the AEW World Championship, in the Dark Order. So the members of the Dark Order, you have Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, Johnny Hungy, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds. So that's next week. And also next week, not next week, on the Homecoming. So they announced the Homecoming show. So on August 4th, on the Homecoming episode of AEW Dynamite in Daly's place, it's going to be Cody Rhodes and Malachi Black. So I guess a video package or a face-to-face, I guess. So yeah, that should be really good too, man. And so yeah, that's it with that. That's everything for next week and the next couple of weeks. So yeah, they absolutely stacked up this show, man. Fight for the Fallen. So yeah, so right after this, we had the main event, which was the craziest match on the show, man. The best match on the show, match of the night for me. So it's the Texas Death Match for the IWGP United States Championship, and whoever wins the match will be going up against Hikuleo next week at Fight for the Fallen. So it was Jon Moxley, who is the IWGP United States Champion, versus the Murder Hawk Machine, or the Murder Hawk, Lance Archer, with Jake the Snake Roberts in his corner. And so, yeah, Moxley. So yeah, this is this is Lance Archer's hometown. So he had home field advantage. Lance Archer did. Moxley was the heel in this match. And so yeah, so Moxley, he went right after Archer. And we had a kendo stick shots to Archer. We had a pounce to Moxley. Cannonball to Moxley off the ring apron. And then we had a kendo stick shot to Moxley. And so Archer and Moxley, they were fighting inside of the crowd. Archer, he had used a fan at one point as a weapon, so I thought that was crazy. He used the fan as a weapon. He actually attacked the fan, and he used the fan as a weapon. I don't know if that was a plant or if that was a real fan. But, yeah, he used the fan as a weapon against Jon Moxley. And so Archer, he had exposed the outside ring mat, the mat that's on the outside floor, so he took it off, and you saw the concrete ground. And so Moxley hit the paradigm shift on Lance Archer on the steel concrete. And so Lance Archer, he was bleeding. He was bleeding all over his face. And so Moxley, he grabbed the fork. I don't know where he got a fork from, but he grabbed the fork and he started stabbing Lance Archer with the fork. And so Moxley, he had put a chair in Lance Archer's leg. He had tied a chair in his leg, and he stomped on the chair on his leg. And so yeah, the rules of this match is that the only way to win is by submission or a knockout or submission. So referee was counting to 10, and Archer, he made it back up to his feet at 9. And so Archer, he punched a trash can lid. So Moxley, he had a trash can lid. He was about to hit Archer with it, and so Archer had punched a trash can lid, and the trash can lid had hit Moxley in the face. And so yeah, so both of these guys, they were going back and forth with strikes. And then Moxley, he started biting Archer on his head, to widen up that open wound, bloody up that open wound. And so we had a German suplex to Archer. And so we had a ripcord Uranagi to Moxley. And so Archer, I guess he forgot the rules. He went for a pinfall, but he cannot win by pinfall. And so yeah, so Archer, he hit Moxley with a trash can. And so we had a low blow to Archer. And then the crowd started booing. So it's anything goes, man. Anything goes. And Archer is a big dude, man. If you can't fight him, man, kick him below the belt. So yeah, we had a choke slam to Moxley and yeah, this is the spot that I was talking about earlier in the show. Like, we had Archer, he set up 2 chairs. Or yeah, I think Moxley did. Moxley had set up the 2 chairs. And you had two of the chairs sitting back to back. two of those metal chairs sitting back to back. And so Archer he chokeslammed Moxley on the tip of the chair, on the top of the chair. And so when I saw it, dude, I winced in pain. I cringed and I winced in pain. I was like, oh my god, dude. Oh, I'm like, dude, that had to hurt, man. It had to hurt. That's the same spot that Adam Cole hit, or yeah, Adam Cole and Aleister Black when they had their match at one of those takeovers years ago. I think at Takeover Philadelphia, he threw Adam Cole on the top of that chair. His back hit the chair, and that was nasty. That was absolutely nasty. And that's what that reminded me of too. But Adam Cole, I think his lower arm, the middle. I think Cole, the middle of his back hit the top of the chair. But Moxley, it looked like his upper back hit the back of the chair. But either way, man, upper back, lower back, middle of the back, it still hurt, man. And so yeah, so we had a paradigm shift to Archer, and he got up at 4. And so Moxley he stabbed Archer with the fork over and over and over again. And so Moxley he pulled out some barbed wire boards, like the same ones from that exploding barbed wire death match. And so yeah, so he sat him on those tables, those tables that he had set up outside the ring. And so Archer, he got his revenge by stabbing Moxley with the fork. And so yeah, so they were fighting at the ring apron at that point. The table is it has barbed wire on the table, the board. And so yeah, so Archer he chokeslammed Moxley off of the ring apron through the tables, through the barbed wire boards. And so Moxley he did not get up. He could not make it back up to his feet at 10. So Moxley lose the match. So Lance Archer wins the match and is the new IWGP United States champion. And so yeah, man. Yes. Yes, this is the right move. This is the absolutely right move. The absolute right move. And I said this last week, man. If Archer were to lose this match, I don't want to hear nothing else about Archer and going after a championship ever again. He has to win this match. And he did. Lance Archer won the match, and he's the new United States champion of the IWGP. And yeah, man, and just like what I said, man, this is a crazy match. This is a crazy match, crazy spots in this match. An awesome match, one of the best matches on the show tonight. Match of the night for me. And they know each other really well, man. This is actually their rematch that they had in New Japan, a Texas Death Match. This is their rematch, and this time Lance Archer won. Or Lance Archer is still undefeated in the Death Match, I guess. But yeah, he beat Jon Moxley tonight. And yeah, man. Yeah, they absolutely beat the crap out of each other. Absolutely beat the crap out of each other. And Lance Archer he's the new IWGP United States champion. And it will be Lance Archer versus Hikuleo next week for the IWGP United States Championship at Fight for the Fallen next week. So so Hikuleo and Lance Archer, they stood face to face. And Hikuleo is a tall dude, man. He is very tall. He made Lance Archer look short, and Lance Archer is a tall guy himself. The dude is 6'8". Lance Archer is 6'8". The Hikuleo, he got to be at least 7 feet. He got to be at least 7 feet tall, because Archer is 6'8", and 6'8" is very tall. And he made Lance Archer look short. And so yeah, man. So yeah, I don't know. I never seen Hikuleo before. I never seen him wrestle, but we'll have to see. We have to see how the match is. But yeah, man, that was it with Dynamite, man. That was it with Dynamite. A really good show, man. Great main event. Then once again, setting up next week's show, stacking up next week's show. And that was it. That was it with Fyter Fest, man. That was it with Fyter Fest. And yeah, man, we just had some great matches on this show, man. We really did. But the Texas Death Match was the best match on the show. And they doing a great job at, playing out these feuds and all that stuff. Playing out all these feuds and, setting up next week's show and all that. So, yeah, man. That was it. That was it with Dynamite, man. Now, the Daniel Bryan and CM Punk situation, I like to talk about, man. So Daniel Bryan is All Elite Wrestling. So yeah, so it was reported by, who was it reported by? So it was bodyslam.net. So they reported that earlier today. I'm reading this off of Fightful. I'm gonna read it off of Fightful. That's because they have it on Fightful. So this is an article from Fightful. So Daniel Bryan has reportedly signed with AEW. Cassidy Haynes of bodyslam.net reports Daniel Bryan, now Bryan Danielson, is quote unquote locked in, and quote unquote 100% sign a contract with AEW. So Haynes, he also reported that was was wanting to work less dates for comparable money. He wanted the ability to be able to work in Japan and wanted to have creative input on his character, which he got. Haynes also goes on to report that the tentative plans creatively are for Bryan to debut at the Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York City on September 22nd. So PW Insider, they reported on July 20th Bryan was not listed on the internal plans for WWE merchandising and licensing for 2021 to 2022. Bryan's contract with the WWE expired following his match with Roman Reigns on the April 30th episode of SmackDown. As per the stipulation of the match, Bryan was banished from SmackDown. So Bryan has not addressed his future since his contract expired, along with main eventing the WrestleMania, or not WrestleMania, main event. Well, he did main event WrestleMania. Main event the April 30th episode of SmackDown against Roman Reigns. Bryan main evented WrestleMania 37 in a triple threat match against Reigns and Edge. Bryan is a former 4-time WWE champion, and he has not wrestled outside of WWE since 2010. So we will get more update from Fightful. We also have other sites reporting this, or not reporting it, but getting the news. So Bryan, he is. It was reported by bodyslam.net, bodyslam.net, and I believe it too. I believe it. I absolutely believe it. No, like nobody's gonna go out there and place something false like that. But yeah, I believe it, man. And when he said less dates, when he said competing for less dates and wanting to work in Japan, I absolutely believe it, man. Daniel Bryan, when he was in WWE, I think he wanted to work in Japan. He wanted to work in Japan, and he wanted to work less days, and he got those less dates. So yeah, Daniel Bryan, he signed with AEW. He is signed with AEW, and man, and that's a big deal too. That's a big deal. Daniel Bryan, man. And not only Daniel Bryan, they could have CM Punk too, man, because we also heard from CM Punk. Now, so according to Fightful Select, so I'm reading this off of NoDQ.com. So according to Fightful Select, there have reportedly been talks about CM Punk making a return to wrestling. So the site noted the following. Fightful Select learned last week that CM Punk has been in talks to make a return to pro wrestling as an in-ring performer, with sources indicating that AEW is the most likely landing point. So, yeah, there are people within WWE that are said to believe that CM Punk is heading to AEW. However, there has been no confirmation that CM Punk has signed with any company at this time. So, in an interview with Uprocks.com from earlier this year, CM Punk talked about how it would take the right scenario for him to return. So this is what Punk has said. So from a creative mind standpoint, stepping back and looking at the landscape of everything, there are people in WWE that I have wrestled before that maybe in a certain situation could be interesting. There's also the business side of things. What's the biggest possible match for CM Punk? I think there's Kenny Omega on one side, and unfortunately, ironically enough, for me to go back to WWE, who's the biggest match for me, it's probably Triple H. That's ironic because it's nothing I'm interested in. It's just what it is. I'm going to be a businessman and say that's the match, and that's the big money match, and that's the big money match. Well, it's not my money, so it's not for me to say. Yeah, Punk is not coming back. He's not going back to WWE. He's not. He's not. And why would he go back? Why would he go back to WWE after everything that they did to him, man? When he left the first time, I would not go back. I would not go back if I'm Punk. So yeah, Punk, he's going to AEW, man. Whether you like it or not, he's going to AEW. And if he goes to WWE, he's only gonna have like a few. He's only gonna have like a few people to wrestle. that he never been in the ring with, because he been in the ring with everybody over there, but he's only gonna have a few that he's never been in the ring with. Now, if he goes to AEW, he's gonna have like a full list. He's gonna have like a full list of guys that he can go up against. I can see him go up against Omega, just like what they said, Omega, Darby Allin, Malachi Black. You know, he could also be in the ring with guys that he has competing with, that he has competed against. Chris Jericho, Cody Rhodes. You know, he could be in the ring up against. He could go up against Jungle Boy. Who else? Andrade El Idolo. Who else, man? Who else? I'm missing some people. Chris Jericho, I said it already. MJF. Hangman Adam Page. You could go up against Page. You put Punk against anybody. Pac, Ray Phoenix, Pentagon. Yes. Dude, I'm telling you, the list is endless. Like the list is endless. It's endless for Punk. It is endless for Punk and Bryan, dude. Daniel Bryan, because Daniel Bryan, he will be there. So Daniel Bryan will be there. So he could go up against Bryan again. So yeah, man. Yeah, this is a big deal, dude. This is a really big deal. If they can get Punk and Bryan, that is it, man. That is it. That is it for WWE. That is it for them. And so yeah, man. I'm surprised that they let this guy go. Not let him go, but like didn't even negotiate a contract with him. Like you knew his contract was expiring. You knew his contract expired. And you didn't try to work a deal out with him, and you just let him walk away. You let him walk away. But yeah, man. Daniel Bryan and AEW, man, I can see. I have a just like what I said for Punk, man. Bryan, like the list is endless, dude. The list is endless. Like you put Bryan in the ring with everybody, man, it'll be a great match. I definitely want to see Bryan versus Omega, man. I really want to see that match. But yeah, Bryan could be in the ring with anybody. It'll be a freaking 5-star match. So yeah, man, this is actually great news, man. This is actually great news for Punk and Bryan. CM Punk, he hasn't been in the ring since 2014. So that was he quit, he retired right before WrestleMania that year. And so I think it was supposed to be CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan that year, I think it was. But yeah, we never got in that match, and we could probably get it at AEW, man, that one-on-one match. So yeah, and if Punk does sign with AEW, I can see him show up in All Out. I can see him go to All Out since All Out will be in his hometown, Chicago. And dude, man, oh man, oh man, and when Punk shows up, you hear his theme song, the Cult of Personality. You hear that theme song, dude. The crowd, and now that we have fans back, dude, oh my god, the roof on that building, man, it would freaking explode. It would explode. And Daniel Bryan, man, he could show up anytime. He can show up anytime. You know, he doesn't have the 90-day no compete clause. He can show up anytime he wants. He let his contract expire, so he can show up whenever he wanted. He could have showed up tonight if he wanted to. He could show up next week. He could show up at All Out. He could show up at that September 22nd show that they mentioned earlier in that article at Arthur Ashe Stadium. But yeah, great news, man. This is great news, man. Like I really can't wait. I cannot wait to see what happens next. Cannot wait to see what happens next with these guys. So yeah, man. And that was AEW, man. That was AEW Dynamite for July 21st, 2021, Fyter Fest Night 2. So that completed Fyter Fest Night 2. Well, that completed Fyter Fest. And yeah, man. So next week will be Fight for the Fallen. And so yeah, man. And yeah. And if you like this video, man, what are you waiting for? Hit the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. And right next to that subscribe button, there's a bell. Make sure you click on that bell so you're the first ones to know when my next video is uploaded, because I'm here each and every single week. Follow me on Twitter at Ryan Awesome Show. And yeah, man, if you missed my last week's review or my Fyter Fest Night 1, the video is going to be right up here in this corner. And a link to that video will be down below in the description. So make sure you click this video or click down below in the description if you miss anything. And yeah, man, I'll see you guys for Thursday for Impact Wrestling. So this is the aftermath of Slammiversary. So if you missed my Slammiversary review and my Money in the Bank review, because that's all fused in one video, because I did not watch the Slammiversary live show. I did not watch the pay-per-view live because I was at a wrestling event. So I watched it the next day, and so I decided to do the Money in the Bank and the Slammiversary review all put up in one video. So that video is like an hour long. So if you want to kill time, go ahead and check that video out too, man. And so yeah, man. And yeah, I'll see you guys on tonight. I mean, not tonight. I'll see you guys tomorrow, Thursday for Impact Wrestling. And yeah, man. And once again, thank you for the support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And yeah, man, this has been the Ryan Awesome Show. Take care, stay safe, and don't forget to be awesome. And that's that.